5 minutes to discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, amendment number 06 pertains to a provision that once again we enacted in the DARA bill of 2018. In that legislation, what we did is we said that if a local government like a sheriff or jailer or other form of local government was able to propose a housing solution for their own employees, their own critical workforce that cost 50% or less of the comparable FEMA option, that local government, that law enforcement officer, what have you, could be reimbursed. We did that because in Louisiana, we found multiple instances of excessive cost. We were able to save the federal government millions of dollars. Unfortunately, FEMA has come back and come up with this creative interpretation that the provision is not codified under Stafford, despite the fact that all of DARA is codified under Stafford. And so therefore they're alleging that the disaster relief fund under FEMA is not an eligible account to cover those reimbursable costs, which means they're trying to stick taxpayers with double the cost or more for the same housing solution that our local governments have been able to carry out. In the case of Southwest Louisiana, sheriffs in Cameron and I believe Calcasieu Parish have, in the 2020 hurricanes, come up with housing solutions that are saving millions of dollars. We're simply trying to get them reimbursed under existing law. That's amendment number 6. Amendment number 15 has to do with the base flood elevation. Mr. Chairman, it is crazy that HUD has a base flood elevation that is different than FEMA. And so what happens in the immediate aftermath of disasters, you have a FEMA base flood elevation standard that communities rebuild to, those that are aggressive and want to get back in their homes and businesses as quickly as possible. If HUD, CDBG-DR, Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery dollars become available later on, HUD's BFA standard, their base flood elevation standard, is a foot higher. And the people aren't told. So they become ineligible of getting reimbursed if they rebuilt to the FEMA standard. This simply says that there's one standard that everybody should comply with and that you can still get reimbursed. You're not discriminated against because you followed one federal standard after the other. I'll say it again, why we have 2 different standards in our own federal family, I have no idea. Third amendment goes back to the 2020 disasters. In 2020, we had 5 named storms in Louisiana alone. 2 of the biggest ones made landfall 12 miles apart. As you know, other impacts all across the Gulf Coast, including Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Texas, as well as other disasters like wildfires and others. There has been no disaster package. And look, I'm frustrated with the Trump administration, with their OMB. I'm frustrated that it hasn't become part of this package. And so this simply would set aside a portion of the DERF dollars to ensure that it's directed for those 2020 hurricane impacts or disaster impacts that occurred in 2020. I urge adoption of the amendment. Yield. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify on 06 and in fact on any of the others, none of these are earmarks or Louisiana specific or anything like that. Every single one of these would apply to any entity nationally. 06 specifically is only applies when it saves taxpayers 50% of the projected federal cost or more. Yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. And I think we'll just note for the rest of the members that the full comments in opposition do go beyond that particular point and as well. So I would ask members to oppose this en bloc amendment.